So we have two services on Sunday mornings, the first of which is the Bible prophecy update that we do weekly, and then second service, which will be live streamed at 11:15 a.m. Hawaii time. We know there's a number of you that stay for both, and you're certainly welcome to do that. We're in 1 Peter. Lord willing, today we're going to complete chapter 1, and we're going to look at what it is that we as Christians can and should do when we find ourselves in the valley of despair. And this is really, I hope, an encouragement for those that are really hurting and struggling. I know many are. And this is to whom Peter writes. He writes to a people that are really struggling, going through extreme persecution, unspeakable difficulty and hardship. And so would encourage you to join with us, again, 11:15. That's Hawaii time. And those of you that are watching by way of YouTube or Facebook, we want to maybe encourage you at this time to go directly to the website at jdfarag.org. It should be seamless, but there you'll find the uncensored and uninterrupted entirety of today's update. And so with that, we'll get started. And for today, I want to talk with you about that well-known cliche, follow the money. But I want to do so from a prophetic perspective. The saying was actually popularized back in the 1970s. Some of you were probably not even born, whatever, in the 1970s, but is commonly referred to as proving something true by following the money trail. And so that's what I want to do. I want to prove Bible prophecy is truly on the cusp of being fulfilled by virtue of following the money globally. Now, it's important to note that the Bible is replete with prophecies about money as it relates to the global economy at the time of the end during the 7-year tribulation. Specifically, massive hyperinflation, which will ultimately give way to some form of biometric identification. This is in and during the tribulation, and without this identification, one will not be able to buy or sell. I want to begin with these two specific prophecies found in the book of Revelation, which again ultimately find their fulfillment in the 7-year tribulation, and we'll start with Revelation chapter 6 concerning hyperinflation. I'll begin reading in verse 5. Now, just a preface real quick as you're turning there, which I love it that some of you are. Chapters 6 through 19 in the book of Revelation are about the 7-year tribulation, from chapter 6 all the way through to chapter 19. So we pick it up here in verse 5. This is in the tribulation. And we're told, when the Lamb opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Scales representative of commerce and trade and business and buying and selling. Then I heard, verse 6, what sounded like a voice among the 4 living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a day's wages, and 3 quarts of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine." Now, Bible commentators are not necessarily 100% sure concerning the oil and the wine. I've heard it explained a couple of different ways. Some believe that actually nobody will have the money to buy such a luxury. That would kind of make sense. But what's really important to see here is that it will take an entire day's wages. Now, think about this with me. How much do you make in a day? Are you paid by the hour? Are you paid a monthly salary? So you're paid monthly, let's say. What is a day's wages for you? What is that dollar amount? Well, in the tribulation, when this is fulfilled, hyperinflation will be so bad that it will take an entire day's wages, whatever you make in a day, just to buy the wheat or the barley. And barley, that's another interesting thing, but a quart of wheat, that's how much one day of work will take in order to purchase that small quantity because of hyperinflation. And then we continue on, verse 7, when the Lamb opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was following close behind him. They were given power over a fourth of the earth to kill by sword, famine, and plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. Now, that right there, we can do the calculation if you want, but let's just say, for purpose of discussion, that the population of the earth today is, let's just round it up to 8 billion. 1/4 is 2 billion people. When this is fulfilled, this third and fourth seal is opened, and the third and the fourth horse ride. 1/4 of whatever the population of the earth is at that time will die. And it will come either by way of the sword, by famine, because there's just no food, and plague, which we know a thing or two about, especially now, and by the wild beasts of the earth. 1/4 of the earth when this happens. Now, for those who are interested, we did a deep dive into this in our update back on December 6th of 2020, titled The Great Setup. In it, we looked at economically, financially, this 12-step outline that I had permission to share from someone who has tremendous discernment and insight into this. And he goes into, in depth, the dynamics economically and financially that will lead up to the fulfillment of this prophecy that we just read, specifically as it relates to hyperinflation, the cost of just basic goods and services and food, which, if you haven't noticed, is, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So we followed up on May of this year, May 1st of this year, concerning this prophecy in an update titled, Don't Fear What's Coming. By the way, we should not fear what's coming. We're going to be talking a little bit about this in our 1 Peter study today, but the Christian has nothing to fear. God has not given us a spirit of fear. Matthew 6, for anyone who may be given over to fear, you need to spend some time, particularly in verses 19 through 34, where Jesus just reassures us that he will always provide whatever our need is financially. If he's going to clothe that beautiful lily, that flower that's here today and gone tomorrow, that even Solomon in all of his splendor was not clothed in such magnificence, certainly he's going to take care of you. And if he's going to take care of that bird in the air, who is not made in the image of God, but a bird, if he's going to take care of a bird, would he not much more take care of you? How much more of worth are you? He will take care of you. He will always provide for you. Now, he may not provide in the way that you think he's going to provide, or even the way you want him to provide. I'll just speak for myself here. I do that all the time. Lord, this is how I want you to provide. This is when I want you to provide. This is how much I want you to provide. And this is the color in which I want you to provide it. In Jesus' name. Again, I know you don't do that. But God will always provide in His way and in His time. And it's always for His glory. And sometimes we're looking at God to open up a door, and it may be that God may not want to open up a door. He may want to use a window. How about that? His ways are not our ways, and His thoughts are too high for our understanding. Who knows the mind of the Lord? Well, we're witnessing the controlled demolition of the world's economies vis-a-vis hyperinflation in order to usher in this global digital economy of Revelation 13, a prophecy I know you know well. I'll just read verses 16 through 18. There's something I want to point out here. He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number digital of his name. This calls for wisdom. If anyone has insight, let him calculate the number digital of the beast. For it is a man's number, his number is 666. Now, I realize this prophecy is a go-to related to 666 and the mark of the beast, but what's often missed is what is going to lead up to this. Let me explain. Wouldn't it stand to reason that there would need to be something prior that has to be put in place in order for this biometric technology to control this digital economy? Because the prophecy is rather explicit, if I can say it like that, because no one without whatever this biometric ID mark is will be able to buy or sell. You have to have some sort of a digital marker, a biometric digital ID. So again, my question, wouldn't it stand to reason that there would already, leading up to this, there would already need to be something in place in order for this to be fulfilled? Well, dare I say that it's already being put in place now, in real time, and at breakneck speed, which is an indication of just how close we are. But Satan doesn't want you to know that. So what Satan will do, and he's been met, I'm sad to say, with a measure of success in getting Christians so distracted and caught up, arguing with each other, fighting with one another, taking their positions against each other. And meanwhile, while we're fighting with one another, getting all worked up about this or that or them, this is being done. It's being put in place. While you're sleeping tonight, that of course presupposes that you're able to sleep, but I'm not going to go there. Enough of my problems. But let's just say that you get a good night's sleep tonight. While you're sleeping sound tonight, oh, if you only knew. If you only knew. Pictured here is a post from Telegraph and Argus out of the UK. It was on Tuesday, this last Tuesday, August 30th, or actually it was a couple weeks ago, I think, with the headline, no, it was this last Tuesday. Man, what a week. Here's the headline. People protest as some Starbucks outlets to go cashless. Here's a quote. People took to social media to express their displeasure about Starbucks going cashless next month. A sign outside Starbucks on Ruley Lane in Bradford read, "We're going cashless. From 1st October 2022, we will only be accepting card, contactless, and Starbucks awards payments. Please ask our team for further details." No need. I already know the details. I don't need to ask your team because my Bible tells me about the details. Oh, come on. We're not going to... another source described it as it's an experiment. Oh, where have I heard that word before? It's an experiment to see how we can get people to transition from cash to cashless. Really? Well, right on time. Perfectly according to God's prophetic schedule and calendar. Here's what's interesting. On the same day, Tuesday, August 30th, the Catholic News Agency published an article stating that Pope Francis instructed Vatican entities to move all their funds to the Vatican Bank by September 30th of this month, which is the day before some Starbucks go cashless. Do they know something we don't? We don't know. Well, you know, but most don't, because they're all caught up and worked up by the narrative, the script of the day. And meanwhile, while Christians, sadly, again, Christians, and dare I say even sadly pastors, get caught up in all of that. And meanwhile, this is happening. Well, it gets better. Here's a CBN News report from just last week titled, "Biometric Blockade. Political critics could have bank accounts frozen as governments trend toward total control." Here's a quote. Pakistan's interior minister is warning that outspoken critics of the current government could find their, listen, biometric identity cards blocked, leaving them without access to their bank accounts. They won't be able to buy or sell. As CBN News has reported over the last couple of years, China's move toward a cashless society with a digital currency mirrors how the entire world is literally being set up for heightened levels of government control. Eric Bethel, a former U.S. executive director with the World Bank, said, while the world, this is interesting, fixates on private cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Beijing is busy building a digital version of its own currency, the yuan, to control its citizens and eventually threaten the dominance of the U.S. dollar. They pretty much created, not are creating, they've already created all of the building blocks that will allow a central bank digital currency to flourish. And it gives Beijing the power to track its citizens, their spending in real time. There will be a point where the People's Bank of China, the central bank of their country is going to be able to peer inside of every single transaction, what everyone does, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, warned Bethel. They're already doing that. By the way, that's why they don't want you to use cash. See, they can't track you. So you go somewhere and you pay with cash, they have no digital record of that transaction. And that really bugs them because they want to know your every move. They want to know where you're at. They want to know if you're not feeling well. They want to know what you're thinking. They want to know what your behavior is going to be. They want to know what your political leanings are. They want to know what your spending habits are. I'm going to leave it right there. It's even worse than that. I don't want to get too graphic. They want to know everything about everything you do. I'm just going to leave that to your imagination. They want to know about everything. Everything. You good? Okay. I'm not. Everything, yes. Wow, I know. Now, it's important to keep in mind that all of this is on the backdrop of what we addressed last week concerning the executive order that could bring the U.S., quote, one step closer to a digital currency. Now, unlike cryptocurrency that's decentralized, open source, this would be centralized, a centralized bank, CB, digital currency, CBDC. And actually, in some of the research I did, it does seem that the date of December 13th of this year has been set to implement this digital currency. Now, add to this the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It sounds so palatable and amicable, doesn't it? Who doesn't want sustainable development? Well, it's also known as Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030 is just what it means. It's an agenda that they want to execute, for lack of a better word, probably could choose a better word, by the year 2030. That's in 7.5 years. Right? Why are you looking at me like that? That's 7.5 years, right? Yeah. Here's 16.9 of Agenda 2030. It states, and I quote, Target 16.9, by 2030, provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. Now, please, whatever you do, don't picture in your mind a birth certificate. This is all digital. It's a digital ID. And don't even see it as being on your device. No. It will be on you, in you. Because see, I'm sorry, I'm taking my demonic device out of my pocket, but it's listening. You need to get saved. You need Jesus. Jesus is coming. You need Jesus. Okay. You never know, right? We get to heaven and go, remember that day when you were behind the pulpit? You told me when I was listening in that I needed Jesus. I got saved. Thank you. Oh, praise the Lord. See you soon. Okay. Anyway, back to our prophecy update already in progress. All right. So, bear with me. So everything is on here, right? But what's on here is on us. So when you leave here today and get into your car and drive, they're going to know when you leave and where you go, because this is on you, and they have that ability on this, which is on you. Are we good so far? Okay. Now, it's going to be where it's not going to be on you. They're going to take what is now on you and put it in you. Not you, but this technology will be biometric. It will be part of who you are, not on you as a device. It will be in you. Have you heard about, I think it's the World Economic Forum, none other than, are we surprised? That is just, I mean, boasting about this new technology they have. You know what it is? It's a pill that has a tracking device in it when it goes in you. So here's how they couch it in terms of, they frame it as, we will know if somebody has taken their medication in case they forget. Oh, really? Oh, that's so thoughtful of you. Thank you so much, because I forget sometimes, and yeah, we can tell if you've forgotten to take it. We can also tell when you take it, and we'll be able to send data from your body, and we'll be able to collect that data. We'll know what your body temperature is, what your blood pressure is. Again, I'm sorry, I don't want to get graphic, but we'll know when your bowel movements are. That's all I'll say. We'll know everything about you. We'll know when you go to sleep. We'll know how many times you get up to go to the bathroom. We'll know when you get up in the morning. We'll know what you do, what you eat, everything. That's what they're going to do. And that alone should make the hair on the back of our neck stand on end, shouldn't it? Because it's an agenda. It's a satanic agenda. And it's already in place. It's just a matter of time. There's nothing that needs to happen. The technology is already in place. It's just a matter now of getting people to do it. That's all that needs to happen. So perhaps it goes without saying, but this agenda is becoming quite clear. And it doesn't just stop at collecting your data physically, biometrically. It actually scores it. So you have a score based on that data. So if you're compliant, then your score goes up. If you're not compliant, then your score goes down. And this score, aka social credit score system, will determine whether or not you're able to buy or sell. Are you starting to connect these demonic dots yet? On April 4th of last year, we actually did an update on this titled Coming to a Head, where we look at this social credit score system and how it works. It's already operative in China. And as we just read, it's just a matter of time before it will be executed, implemented to the entire world, because the technology is already there. It's just a matter now of implementing it. They've already built the system that needs to be in place. Now, the question that's before us in light of this is one of whether or not what we're seeing today is leading up to these aforementioned prophecies. And that's what I would like to answer for the remainder of our time together today. But in order to do that, we'll go ahead at this time and end the live stream on YouTube and Facebook. Hopefully you're already at the website.